Okay, John, you said our buyer's going to be around that 30 to 40 years of age sort of person. So what our marketing program needs to identify who the potential buyer is, and capture as many of those buyers as we possibly can in the best possible way to give you the best possible result. In addition to those buyers, so in addition to the buyers that we've already pinned as the 30 to 40 year old sort of family growing sort of buyer, there might be a little bit of before that, so the younger buyer that happens to be the first home buyer with a bit more money than most first home buyers.
Yep.
We're also going to have maybe person downsizing from a larger home but still love the area and want to stay in the leafy suburb and like the shops, or the kids might live in the suburb or whatever it might be. And we also will have an investor in there that maybe even wanting to get into the area.
Yep.
Because it's such a strong suburb, we've even seen people spend up to $500,000 on the right sort of home, on the right sort of block, and knock it down. So,
Wow.
so we want to get that whole spectrum of buyer. We don't want to miss any of those particular buyers out, but we need to focus on where our prime buyer is, because the others we're going to capture, but the main ones is where we need to target our campaign. So you said when you looked at your home first time around when you were buying, you grabbed the newspaper and however you looked 10 odd years ago. 20 odd years ago, that's the only way you could have done it. You would have gone to the newspaper and you would have had to drive down to your local agent. Because 20 odd years ago, roughly, there wasn't even an internet around.
No, it wasn't that many computers. No.
So that's right. And the computers that worked were on dial-up and they didn't work properly. And there weren't real estate web portals. So that's changed a lot now. So our buyer, this 30 to 40 year old buyer, has grown up with computers all their working life and are very internet and computer savvy.
Yes.
And this buyer is not a traditional newspaper buyer anyhow. They might read the paper on the weekends.
Yep.
They're unlikely to ever actually go into a real estate office unless they were going to pay their rent.
Yep.
So our target market is buyers that are very, very internet savvy, and that's how our buyers are going to find the property. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just to step you through the program of how we go about marketing your property, given the fact of where our buyer is going to come from, and how we're going to capture them in the best possible way. Now, I'd like to show it on an iPad for the reason is a lot of buyers, sorry, that's actually automatic, I'll just quickly turn that off. Back to it. I wanted to show you on an iPad because a lot of buyers are going to be going to a remote device to find your property. In fact, more than 50% of your buyers on your home will view your home for the first time on an iPad or a smartphone or a tablet, opposed to a desktop computer.
Yep.
And that's because it's with them, because we carry our phones with us all day. They say kids carry their phones to bed and are on social media before they're even out of bed in the morning. So, so the world's changed a lot technology-wise, so it's very important. This is how we're going to sort of capture our buyers' attention. Just a couple of quick snapshots of stats for Ray White. Ray White as a group is a very, very powerful group because it's the largest real estate group in the country, in fact the largest one in Australasia. Every weekend, or every week rather, 72,000 odd people view properties with Ray White. What this is going to mean for you later on when we come to the internet is not only will your property be featured on major web portals such as realestate.com and domain.com, which I'm guessing you use one of them.
Oh, I use Domain.
Domain, okay. So we've got those two web portals, but your property will also be featured on raywhite.com, and raywhite.com is the leading real estate agency portal in the country because we have roughly 1,000 offices with 10,000 agents.
Okay.
So it gets more traction to your property. So there are more people that are going to be involved with the sale of your the process of the sale of your home with Ray White than there could be with any other brand at all. Okay. Our buyers will find your property like we discussed before by using the internet. They will use other means by accident generally. So as an example, when we do an open home for you, we'll be parked out the front, we'll have a pointer sign and a flag flapping in the wind. Someone might be driving down the road and they are attracted by those two items. When they're attracted by the pointer on the side of the road or the flag flapping in the wind, they'll come in and say, hi, and we'll go, where'd you see us? And they go, I just drive them past. So that's a very, very simple method. What we do know though is after they view the property and they come into that open home, they go back home, then they go back to the internet. So all the buyer traffic, whether it's from a signboard or from direct mail in the area or from a newspaper ad or drive-by or database, all feeds back to the buyer going back to a web portal to view the property to get more information and detail on it. So this is why all our focus in our marketing needs to be directed back at the web, making sure the web is absolutely paramount and done 100%.
Okay.
That sort of makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Method of sale. We can go auction or private treaty. It's perfectly okay either way.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is talk to you about a way we can go to sale that'll give you the ability to choose either, with the focus being private treaty more so than auction. However, if the interest level tells us we need to change tack, we have the ability to change tack and go down the path of auction.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And if I can just explain to you, John, is our interest on a property, interest levels used to go like this. We'd used to get, if it was day 0, day 30, day 60, and sort of 90 there. Our interest on a property used to go like this. It used to sort of go up, and then go down like that. That's how it used to go.
Yep.
Because the property would get on the market, signboard would be stuck in. It'd get stuck in the shop window. We'd do a direct mail drop.
Yep.
We'd go back to our antiquated databases and we'd somehow let people know, call them to do that. We'd be on some web portals at some stage in here, probably 1 or 2 web portals, and it's out there to the market. And we're starting to get some traction. It doesn't go like that anymore. It goes like this. It hits on 26 web portals immediately, and our interest goes to maximum level straight away, and it goes maximum level and tails off like that.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So if our maximum level of interest generates a high volume of viewings,
Yep.
we may choose to go down the auction path, and the reason being is I'd suggest that if we had a great level of interest that we can get a maximise your result by creating more competition.
Okay.
But we don't need to be focused on that too much. What I'm going to focus on today is describing how we can preview the property and preview to price it or auction it, whichever is the best result.
All right.
Have you seen the word preview out there in the market before?
No.
Okay, I'll explain that a little bit later when we get a bit further on. Our Essentials campaign is a... That's interesting. There's an error on the screen on here, so we'll ignore that. We need to fix that. So our Essentials campaign is an Essentials marketing campaign that has certain elements that we cannot take away from the marketing of a property. If we take any of these elements out, we can then start jeopardising your result and jeopardising the amount of people we get through. And this campaign is very, very highly internet focused, with an additional supplement of the Newcastle Herald, which is our local paper.
Okay.
So, first of all, the property must be professionally photographed. Stats say that if we photograph a property professionally, opposed to amateur photos,
Wow, yeah.
the interest level is dramatically different, and buyers make decisions very quickly nowadays. They used to take their time.
Yep.
They don't take their time anymore. It's a now generation. We're living in a world where people want information, they want it now, and they can get it now. They will know how much you paid for the home before they come and visit it. And we've already done that research. And they'll know the street sales.
Okay.
So there's no super duper secrets anymore. It's all in front of them.
Yep.
If we don't make your property worthwhile visiting, they will prejudge it and say, well, it looks pretty ordinary or not that good, I will choose not to come out. So professional photos absolutely mandatory. They're produced in a different resolutions, in a medium, in a low res format, medium and a high res.
Yep.
The reason for the different formats also, low is so that it can load onto a screen or a computer or like a smartphone and load quickly.
Yep.
High for big signboards, and we put a signboard out the front.
Right, yeah.
If we had this picture blown up into a signboard, you couldn't even see it. It'd all be terribly pixelated. By the same token, if we had a file that happened to be like a couple of meg, try to load up on the screen, computer would crash. The screen just wouldn't load up. You'd get annoyed, go to another property.
Okay, yeah.
You know, when you try to load something up and you
Yes.
go backspace.
Yeah.
So we can't have you go on backspace. We've got to have you stay in there.
Right, yeah.
So that's why they're produced in the different formats. And professional photos, they make a huge world of difference. But stats, as I said before, say that buyers overlook poorly photographed property and choose not to go there based on the photos alone. So professional photos are standard in our marketing package.
Yep.
By the way, write this down in costs because there's a couple of things we need to cover. There are a couple of marketing costs, and there's two parts to the marketing because you've never sold a home before. You may not be aware of this. There's the marketing and there's the fee.
Okay.
Our fee is what we get paid for selling the home.
Yeah.
We own it. That's a success-based fee. No success, no pay.
Okay.
That's 2.5% plus tax. What that means is the more we sell for, the more we get. The less we sell for, the less we get.
Okay. Yep.
But
Sounds
you are always in control of the sale price. So for, excuse me, remember how we said earlier you were after 450?
Yes.
If 450 is your price, then our fee would be 2.5% plus tax of the 450.
Yep.
You work that out as a dollar amount, and you minus that off the 450, and that's what you get in your hand.
Okay.
So when we're in negotiations, it's important that you work out, you factor that back. So if 450 isn't enough for you to get to your next level of where you want to move to, you need to explain that to me, Darren, I need a bit more.
Okay.
Go back and get another couple of grand, or 5 grand, or 10 grand, or whatever. And I'll talk to you about how we can do that in negotiations anyhow. The separate thing is the marketing component, and the marketing of these things I'm talking about here. It's a bit like the tradesman that comes out, and he comes out to do the work on your home. He brings his skill to the table.
Yep.
It's taken years and years to develop, and he charges $50 an hour or whatever it might be. But he also, if he's a painter, he also brings 20 buckets of paint and sandpaper and putty, because that's what you're going to use to do the job. The two very separate things. So this is like our putty or our sandpaper or our paint.
Right. Yeah.
It's about, and by the way, it's about $1,100.
Right. Yeah.
If we choose to go to auction, there will be some additional costs. We would only go to auction if you were 100% convinced that it was a good exercise to invest a little bit more money to get a result where there's more competition. But we'll always worry about that a little bit later. I don't want to focus on that. Now what we want to focus on is generating interest and making a decision once we've got the highest level of interest in your home.
Okay.
Professional plans now, John, are absolutely mandatory in every property. We do not put properties on the web without floor plans unless they're impossible to draw plans on,
Okay.
or unless they're a block of land.
Okay.
The reason being is buyers have told us that they expect to see floor plans, they expect to know the sizes of the rooms, they want the layout.
Right. Yeah.
If a property doesn't have floor plans, they're less inclined to go and view it, and they may choose to go and look at another property. So floor plans is in that marketing setup, no matter what. This is, your home's got a really lovely backyard.
Okay. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And it's potentially one of the most attractive areas of the home with the sun setting. And so I'm sure some of the lights out here around the pool area is going to be really, really quite lovely. That's probably something we'd like to see featured on a signboard if you're okay with a photographic signboard.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Photographic signboard attracts greater interest than a standard signboard. It's also got personal phone numbers on it, so my contact details and email details. So when the person's out the front, they can immediately start interacting with me as an agent, opposed to this signboard means they interact with just our switchboard or our main reception line, and that sometimes for a buyer is not what they're after.
Okay.
We find from our research with buyers too these days, when they're out in front of a property, they will view it online anyhow. They would actually skip speaking to the agent first and quickly go online and make an online inquiry first, looking at it, seeing how it looks, flick through the home photos and saying, that looks all right. Shoot me an email, says, when can I come out?
Yeah.
Oh, when can I inspect? So photographic signboards are great. Direct mail is important too. What we're trying to create, now this is a little bit about how we get started. What we're trying to create at the very, if we go say day 1, day 7, day 14. Day 1 being the first day we're on the market. It's the day, not day 1. Day 7, let's call this our first opening. What we're trying to create is we're trying to create this, remember that curve I had? We want this curve to peak at around here.
After a week.
Yeah, we want it to, yeah, that's exactly right. We want it to peak. We can't get it to peak in the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because no one, they'll be just aching to get inside. We want it to peak at this first open home. The first open home is where we will get the highest level of crowds. The way we do that is by introducing as many people as we can to the property to create as much energy. One of the things we do to do that is we invite neighbours.
Okay.
And when we say neighbours, we invite people from the street. There will be a sticky beak element,
Yep.
and you might think, oh, I don't want them here. The funny thing is that when we have a neighbour viewing a property, to the genuine buyer that wants to buy it, he can't tell that the neighbour's a neighbour, he can't tell it's a sticky beak from over the back fence, they all look the same. So what that actually means is that there's more energy at that open home because the buyers seeing more people feel that they have to actually act on it if they like it.
Yep.
So what we do is we invite all the locals, we also invite anyone that's on the market in the suburb. So anyone that's currently trying to sell a home, they may be in negotiations, just like you. Let's say, imagine if, because you told me you want to move nearby,
Yes.
imagine if a new home comes on the market and you were to get invited to that new home because it's just come on the market, you'd probably go, wouldn't
I would,
you?
yeah,
Because you're a red hot buyer for it.
That's right.
Has anyone ever done that for you?
No. No, not that I'm aware of at the moment.
Yeah, and it's an absolutely imperative thing to do to create that energy at this first open home.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a good idea.
And the open home is a little bit important, to say the least, because if you tried to not have an open and you try to just do it just with private inspections, you lose a little bit of that intensity.
Okay.
So this is all part of a strategy. So they'll be invited to that first open home. I'll couple that with an ad in the Newcastle Herald. In the first week it will be a 1/16th ad.
Yep.
So there's the size of the ad. Pretend
Yep.
the Herald's there.
Right, yeah.
And that'll be in that first week's edition.
Yep.
So what we would do here at this point, at the day one is design day. Day two, let's say we're on the web. We load the property to 26 different websites, and we load it without a price, but with all the good information about the property. The only thing we're not putting on there is how much you want.
Okay.
But we are saying it's a preview to the market. The purpose of putting it to the preview to the market is it's actually previewing it before our marketing campaign really commences.
Okay.
The preview gets a lot of buyer interest, in quite a wide range. So we'll have buyers below our price, we'll have buyers above our price, and we'll have buyers at our price.
Okay.
Many buyers will actually ask what price we want, and I'm happy to disclose where we think it fits, but we won't tell them how much we'll sell for. The purpose of... What are you doing?